It seems to me that the natural world is the greatest source of excitement, the greatest source of visual beauty, the greatest source of intellectual interest. It is the greatest source of so much in life that makes life worth living. You know, it is a terrible thing to appear on television because people think that you actually know what you're talking about. People must feel that the natural world is important and valuable and beautiful and wonderful and an amazement and a pleasure. Many individuals are doing what they can. But real success can only come if there is a change in our societies and in our economics and in our politics. If people lose knowledge, sympathy and understanding of the natural world, they're going to mistreat it and will not ask their politicians to care for it. The fact remains that man has unprecedented control over the world and everything in it. And so, whether he likes it or not, what happens next is very largely up to him. Every breath of air we take, every mouthful of food that we take, comes from the natural world. And if we damage the natural world, we damage ourselves. I don't run a car, have never run a car. I could say that this is because I have this extremely tender environmentalist conscience, but the fact is I hate driving. People are not going to care about animal conservation unless they think that animals are worthwhile. What humans do over the next 50 years will determine the fate of all life on the planet. An understanding of the natural world and what's in it is a source of not only a great curiosity but great fulfillment. It seems to me that an understanding of the natural world is crucial for all of us. After all, we depend upon it for our food, for the air we breathe and, some would say, for our very sanity. The biggest animal that has ever lived on our planet, a blue whale, it's far bigger than even the biggest dinosaur. Its tongue weighs as much as an elephant. Its heart is the size of a car. And some of its blood vessels are so wide that you could swim down them. I think we're lucky to be living when we are, because things are going to get worse. The whole biological community needs to be talking to one another so that people can get a comprehension of the turmoil in which our planet is involved at the moment, which is a biological turmoil above anything else. I'm against this huge globalization on the basis of economic advantage. This isn't just about losing wonders of nature. With the loss of even the smallest organisms, we destabilize and ultimately risk collapsing the world's ecosystems, the networks that support the whole of life on Earth. You have to steer a course between not appalling people, but at the same time not misleading them. There are 3 times as many people in the world as when I started making television programs 56 years ago. It is frightening. We can't go on as we have been. We are seeing the consequences in terms of ecology, pollution, space and food production. Instead of controlling the environment for the benefit of the population, perhaps we should control the population to ensure the survival of our environment. It's extraordinary how self-obsessed human beings are. The things that people always go on about is, tell us about us, tell us about the first human being. We are so self-obsessed with our own history. There is so much more out there than what connects to us. Human beings have overrun the world. If we disappeared overnight, the world would probably be better off. It is now clear our actions are having a significant impact on the world's oceans. They are under threat now as never before in human history. Many people believe the oceans have reached a crisis point. Surely we have a responsibility to leave for future generations a planet that is healthy and habitable by all species. Everyone likes birds. What wild creature is more accessible to our eyes and ears, as close to us and everyone in the world, as universal as a bird? We can now destroy or we can cherish, the choice is ours. I would be absolutely astounded if population growth and industrialization and all the stuff we are pumping into the atmosphere hadn't changed the climatic balance. Of course it has. There is no valid argument for denial. If I can make programs when I'm 95, that would be fine. But I would think I'll have had enough by then. In moments of great grief, that's where you look and immerse yourself. You realize you are not immortal, you are not a god, you are part of the natural world, and you come to accept that. There is no question that climate change is happening. The only arguable point is what part humans are playing in it. We really need to kick the carbon habit and stop making our energy from burning things. Climate change is also really important. There are some 4 million different kinds of animals and plants in the world, 4 million different solutions to the problems of staying alive. We ourselves, one single species, have taken over vast tracts of the inhabitable surface of the planet. Surely, we should allow those other creatures we share the planet with to retain some part of their ancient heritage. We moved from being a part of nature to being apart from nature. We have overfished 30% of fish stocks to critical levels. We cut down over 15 billion trees each year. By damming, polluting, and over-extracting rivers and lakes, we've reduced the size of freshwater populations by over 80%. We have a finite environment, the planet. Anyone who thinks that you can have infinite growth in a finite environment is either a madman or an economist. Nature doesn't sit still. Things and individuals are changing, dying, and new things are coming. They're all stories. Ever since we arrived on this planet as a species, we've cut them down, dug them up, burnt them and poisoned them. The question is, are we happy to suppose that our grandchildren may never be able to see an elephant except in a picture book? I just wish the world was twice as big and half of it was still unexplored. Steve Irwin did wonderful conservation work, but I was uncomfortable about some of his stunts. Even if animals aren't aware that you are not treating them with respect, the viewers are. Today we're doing so on a greater scale than ever. I don't like rats, but there's not much else I don't like. The problem with rats is they have no fear of human beings, they're loaded with foul diseases, they would run the place given half the chance. 100 years ago, there were 1.5 billion people on Earth. Now, over 6 billion crowd our fragile planet. But even so, there are still places barely touched by humanity. Being in touch with the natural world is crucial. Which quotation do you like the most? Don't forget to subscribe.